China is urging its citizens not to travel abroad as it struggles to contain the virus that has now killed more than 100 people.
Good evening. We start tonight with the unprecedented measures being enforced right across Italy to try to limit the spread of coronavirus.
New signs of a fall surge and perhaps an even more painful winter as coronavirus cases soar in the U.S.
Fiji has recorded its first case of COVID-19 with the 27-year-old flight attendant in Lautoka testing positive last night.
Also from midnight tonight, anyone entering Fiji from any overseas destination will be required to self-quarantine for 14 days.
Fiji is the hub of the Pacific. After recording the first coronavirus case, Fiji closed her borders. Flights stopped and planes were grounded. Students from around the Pacific became stranded. Solomon Island students studying in Fiji who have not completed their programs will not be eligible for repatriation for the foreseeable future.
I saw it as just a virus or another disease.
I think it's going to affect everybody because it's a pandemic, and I believe that everybody is feeling the pinch of what this COVID is bringing into our country and the region as a whole.
It's a pandemic, and I was, when I first heard the news that the coronavirus is coming, like it's spreading, and so I was at the first place thinking that it won't reach the Pacific, and then all of a sudden it reached Fiji, and so that came into my mind that the virus will spread. It's because it is too contagious, and also it spread through human being.
That was frustrating, I might say, because we have a family back home, and also living apart from our family is also sad and also frightening.
For some, this may seem a pragmatic solution, but for these students, it means that they will be away from their home and families indefinitely. This is their story.
The first place when we received the information that back at home there was a lockdown, there was no positive case, but our government they brought to Parliament and they passed this the state of emergency. And so, like at the first place, I was thinking they're so weird, they're so crazy, seeing that there is no positive case yet back at home, but they imposed the lockdown and they have this curfew, and then it went for several months, probably 2 months I think, and then they start calling people back to workplace and all this. So I was, at the first place, I thought they are not really, in a position to make the decision. And so, at the moment, we have cases back at home, and so the lockdown was not imposed, but they are keeping, they contain the patients in the quarantine centers.
I think for me, because Fiji was the first one to be locked down, and for us in Solomon, it's a lockdown, but it's in the quarantine. But the experience that we had here is a community transmission that has happened first. So for me, when Solomon Islands experienced the first case, it's not really like what I felt that had happened here in Fiji.
It's not really a thing for a surprise, because we understand that it was from outside, right? So allowing the borders to open and letting them coming in, we expect it to come in. It has impacted every sector within whatever setting we are in. Education, socially, in all levels. So yes, it has impacted. Schools are slowing down, we don't have like face-to-face classes, so we into Zoom classes. So yeah, it have impacted us.
Coming here to Fiji, like everything, like the USP, University of South Pacific, everything is totally new to me. Compared to the Somaliland National University, we have the Moodle, we have everything, and so one of the impact, it's because when we went online on every course, it's a big blow to me. Like I have to adjust myself and all this thing that all my courses were online. So one of the impact is it affects my studies. So like really affect my studies and how to cope with using the technology and doing the assignments and all this online. It's something totally new to me. We were given assistance. The first thing they did was they liaised with our national government, and so there was assistance given during that period of lockdown in Fiji. We were given this allowance. It's called the COVID-19 allowance. It was we were assisted, especially those of us whom we were on scholarship, and also some others who are not on scholarship. That assistance was given. Unfortunately, some private sponsored students were not given that allowance.
They have a special allowance for students to support on top of the normal allowance that we had. So it's a big thing that our government is supporting students.
It's a national decision that our government is imposing. So we won't say anything, but actually not only me, but every student, especially those of us who were restricted not from going home, they have that same feeling like I do. We really felt bad about it because we have family members to go and see them, and it's a holiday that we're supposed to be with them after a long year, probably a year of staying here in Fiji.
I think it won't be a big difference if we do not go back to our country, because from my perspective, what we are currently experiencing in Fiji is like it's a home too.
Home is home, yeah? That's where our parent is. Yeah, I want to go back. But if I'm not eligible to go back, and then Fiji is good as well.
I think that's fair for our government and for our student, because for our government to spend a lot of money for us to go back home, and then when after the holiday we come back again here in Fiji, for the continuous student, I mean, is more like it's more expensive.
Our government, especially the Ministry of Education, is looking at the cost that the government will incur, like the cost of the quarantine centers back at home, and then if we are to come back, then we have to stay here. The quarantine centers here in Fiji, which is roughly it's around $3,000 or $2,000 plus for one person or one student. So that would be a big financial burden for the government.
We are looking on the economical side of it. Because going back, if you are a continuing student studying in Fiji and going back, you have to be quarantined for 14 days in the Solomons. And the number of students in Fiji, for instance, is about like thousands of them. Okay, so if we go back, the continuing students, then go quarantine 14 days, then they come back next year in Fiji, they have to quarantine again. 14 Honiara, 14 Fiji, 28 days. So where is your holiday be like? In the quarantine, right? So the expense of doing that will be more. So it is more wiser for them, for those students, because it's only December, it's like 4 weeks, then the school gonna start back. It is more economical for them to stay and continue.
Requests for comment made to the Solomon Islands High Commission in Suva were directed to a representative of the Solomon Islands Student Association who was unavailable for an interview.